What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I am DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, it's a pretty big topic to discuss about. It's something that I feel like a lot of people have been discussing about as of late, but we thought let's do it in podcast form. And that is Funko in 2023, which has consisted of a lot of bad decisions. Although Funko has made some cool things in 2023, they've made some cool pops, but the decisions as terms to the company overall hasn't really been the greatest. And we'll go through a lot of what has happened so far in 2023. We're literally 9 months pretty much into 2023, and Funko has made a lot of bad decisions that have really made people question on the future of how the company is. I don't know if you've heard any of these bad news or bad decisions.
Yeah, I have heard a couple things, but I am mostly out of the loop for a lot of it. I haven't really read any articles or anything like that. Basically just seen some headlines or just people talking about it online.
All right, so how this is basically going to go is that I have attempted to at least make at least 1 or 2 points from each month, because it seems like Funko's making headlines every month in terms of their bad decisions that they have done in 2023. We'll go through a decent amount of them. I actually don't think, I do have a couple for each month. So starting off with, I guess, January, I guess the big, huge decision was the huge abundance of employees being let go right around the Christmas holidays into 2023. I'm sure that people already know of a lot of the notable names that were let go, like Ashley Anderson, who now works for Super 7. So congrats to her. And then one of the Funko designers, Reese, very well known in the Funko community. He owns the company Tiny Ghost and makes those collectibles. So I guess he does have something on the side. But I mean, 2 pretty big names with that. And then a lot of the members of the social media team, including Ashley, like I mentioned, were let go. So yeah, it was a pretty big deal. And it was real weird to see this, considering that obviously when it came to the whole pandemic, it was a little bit expected because a lot of companies did that. And I feel bad for Ashley because this was the second time now that she got let go. She got let go during the pandemic period along with Sully, who had never ended up returning to Funko. And then Ashley just ended up getting let go a second time, but luckily this time she said enough's enough. She ended up working for Super 7 now. I'm sure she's doing great things. And then Reese was a huge loss because he was one of the biggest artists as terms to Funko. He did a lot of great designs as terms to what our Funko Pops look like, including, and he even mentioned on his Twitter afterwards, the Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader moments that they did for Return of the Jedi, and even mentioned that on purposely he made it to where you buy the Emperor Palpatine and then you put it all together like that. So MD, your opinions on that part of Funko's decision of letting go a lot of employees?
So yeah, obviously it's not a great thing. Sometimes you do have to let some people go, but I think that the decisions that they made for the people to let go is definitely not the right choice. Obviously people loved Ashley, and it is sad to see her go, just like it was prior the first time as well with Sully. And then Reese, yeah, that doesn't make sense when you have such a great designer. It doesn't really make sense. Obviously they're doing it to save money in places, and I understand that on a business aspect, but it also doesn't look good for the company when you're firing people like them.
Yeah, and even recently, within the last month or so, they let go more people, especially after their Q2 earnings call that they recently did, which we will get into later on in the pod. But yeah, I guess going on to the next one, I guess this isn't really Funko, but I thought I'd bring it up because it was kind of a big topic piece as terms to things happening in the Funko world. That is Pop in a Box no longer selling Funko Pops, which I feel like for a lot of people, is that really upsetting? At least for me, not really, because they don't ship Pops properly, even though they are called Pop in a Box. And the weird thing about this situation is they're still a company. They're still called Pop in a Box, but they don't sell Funko Pops. So now it's like, what is this company direction? Is it now Pop in a Box as terms to pop culture items in a box? I don't exactly know, but I don't really see a lot of people getting upset with Pop in a Box since they haven't really been doing that well as it is.
Yeah, when I heard about this, I wasn't that surprised. I know that years ago we thought that Pop in a Box was this awesome website, and then to find out that it's not the greatest at all. So I'm not really surprised that they stopped selling Funko Pops, but I do think that maybe they should rebrand with a different name, because it felt fitting when they were selling Funko Pops to be called Pop in a Box, but now Pop in a Box just seems like a name that they shouldn't even go by.
Going on to February, what happened in that month, and that is the Buckeye warehouse incident. Now, MD, do you remember about the Buckeye warehouse incident, or remember what the Buckeye warehouse thing was all about?
No, not exactly.
Okay, so the Buckeye warehouse. So basically, Funko in early 2023 opened up a new warehouse in Arizona, and they were having a huge warehouse sale where basically they had a bunch of items, whether it was, your regular exclusives or your 6-inch, 6-inch, 10-inch, 18-inch, whatever different kinds of Funko Pops or Funko items for a really good price. And there was a lot of cool deals. But the thing that makes it the Buckeye warehouse incident is that somehow redeemable NFT pops were involved with this, and for only $15 US, which is absolutely insane. And I guess it was, the thing that's weird is that it was a employee who had bought all of them before it happened, but NFTs were still listed on the actual pamphlet of things that you can buy. And from what I heard is that all of the pops that were sold to this one individual, who ended up selling them secondary market on, I believe it was either Mercari or eBay, I think there was only 12 of them, were the 999 piece Leonardo from the very first NFT drop. Now, for those that might not really know about the NFT pops, normally when you cash in your redemption token, you get the redeemable. Any of them that don't get redeemed, they're supposed to be burned. They're supposed to not be in the hands of other people. So if not all 999 get claimed, only a certain amount are claimed, and then the rest are essentially destroyed. So that way it's exactly what it should be, is either 999 pieces or below that, because they want to keep the number that has been redeemed.
Yeah, this is bad. I do remember about this now, and this is worse than I think the firings, honestly, just for the fact that NFTs are such like a precious thing, I guess you could say, for Funko Pops. Obviously, you have to pull the item out of the pack, which means you have to buy the pack. You're not guaranteed anything. So getting the pop is not the easiest thing to do in the first place. And then I think that they shouldn't even been going to this warehouse sale. I think that someone should have realized, hey, this is wrong. This isn't what's supposed to be happening here. And then they're set aside and, let's say, given away at like fun days or something. If they want to do something like that, give them away to fans at events. Don't have them be for sale for such a low price. And not only that, don't allow employees to be able to be like, okay, this one employee can buy all of those now, and then just crazy for the market of that figure itself.
Yeah, and I feel like if they had leftover NFT pops, and yeah, the whole purpose was for the items to be destroyed, either destroy them or keep them, but keep them for the purpose of, and this has been happening a lot, what if people are getting their NFT pops, they're getting them sent to them, but they are damaged? So that way you can easily just send them a new one, hopefully in mint condition this time, and you have extras left over for that purpose instead of literally giving them to employees. All right, so now moving on to March. Now, the big thing in March that I actually had written down, actually, there was a couple things, but the huge one, and I think everyone remembers about this, Funko dumps $30+ million of inventory in a landfill. People had seen the video of basically a landfill site, and there was a bunch of Funko boxes. Now, there wasn't really any like description of what exactly was in the landfill, besides I think some of them were Funko games, which is a little bit understandable, not gonna lie. But I'm not sure what types of Funko Pops could have been in the landfill, or really other Funko items for that matter.
Yeah, this is another bad one. And I think that people who don't even collect Funko kind of knew about this one because it was everywhere on the news / the internet. And yeah, this one was crazy. Not only that it's tough to see, like, okay, they're not getting rid of some of these products. That really sucks at a company standpoint, but they're dumping this product into landfills, and that's not great. Whether people want to admit it or not, climate change is a real thing, and all that product definitely does not need to be getting put into the ground. Again, it's a case where like this stuff could have been donated. Obviously, that's hard to do because of how much stuff it was, but I'm sure that there's people out there that would much rather enjoy these products than seeing them go to a landfill, even if they were to do like a partnership with like Goodwills or Value Village or any other secondhand store like that, and then like now you see like certain amounts of these Funko products just always in those stores. I think that's a good idea as well. Also, there's children's hospitals. There's so many things that they could have done, and this was a very bad decision.
What was so weird about this decision also is, even though, like, yeah, they threw out 30 million, but a lot of companies actually do that, is that it's actually way easier, as stupid as it sounds, to actually throw out your items like this instead of going through the process of that. But for some reason, Funko made the huge headlines instead of, let's say, you have a Hasbro and a Mattel and all of these different toy companies, but people are just making a huge deal. I mean, it is a huge deal, but I've never seen a huge deal made as terms to what Funko has done with $30 million of products. The other thing that happened in March involves WonderCon. Now, you guys might know where I'm going with this, and that is showing up to WonderCon and all of the pops being shared stickers and not the actual con sticker. Now, for me, I would be ridiculously pissed off if I paid so much money, especially because both MD and I are from Canada. Let's say we flew over to Anaheim, California, went to WonderCon, and we got a spot into the booth. And the one thing that I feel like a lot of people are excited about when getting these exclusive pops at the booth is not only are you getting them at retail price, but you're also getting the official con sticker instead of the shared sticker, which in this case, it would have been your like 2023 Wonders convention, while you actually get like the WonderCon logo, which is always cool to get con stickers, especially at retail price when you have the opportunity to. But in this case, all of the pops had shared stickers, and only a select few or none of them at all had the con sticker, which was a little bit weird. And especially there was actually a recording done, I believe, of employees trying to actually like rip off the shared stickers and adding their own con sticker to it to replace it. So then you also get sticker residue, which is a little bit icky mess there for pops.
Yeah, I don't know how this mistake happened. I mean, to start off, that would very much suck if you went to this con, especially like DK was saying, if you spend a lot of money and you get there, and obviously con stickers that aren't the shared stickers are more valuable because it means you're at the con or someone was at the con, and a little bit more limited, obviously, than the shared pops themselves. So yeah, that'd be very, very disappointing. I don't think it's super like detrimental. Like, okay, you can still get these pops, you're at the con, you can have a great time, but that still is a little bit of a burden. And then trying to change the stickers over while the con's going on, that's also a little bit ridiculous. This should have just been avoided completely.
All right, so moving on to April, I think the big thing that happened in April was the closing of Big Apple Collectibles. As terms to, it wasn't really a bad decision, I guess. They kind of were not really doing well as a company, considering that they've always missed a bunch of pre-orders. People have been waiting 6 months to a year, maybe even 2 years for something to arrive. And then in April, they announced that they are closing their doors. They basically were filing for bankruptcy. And they mentioned about this whole statement about, first off, kicking off with a ridiculous beginning about, we're sorry, but Big Apple Collectibles, your go-to for Funko Pops, which is an absolute ridiculous statement to kick off your statement with, is closing down, blah, blah, blah. And then mentioned about, if you are looking for refunds, ask your bank for the refund, which is also ridiculous because in various videos, especially if you guys watch the Gazzlecast, they even mention bank accounts will only give you a refund for a certain period of time. I believe like a max 180 days, if I'm not mistaken. So let's say you are waiting 2 years for a Funko Pop, and then they tell you, hey, we can't give you the refund yourselves. Please contact your bank account. The bank won't give you the money at that point for 2 years. Like, that's definitely longer than 180 days. So that's a little bit ridiculous. And I heard something stupid about giving a $1 refund, which is absolutely ridiculous. Also, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not too disappointed about them actually closing, but the whole situation is a little bit sticky. I can understand them like saying, ask your bank for the refund. Obviously, they aren't in the position to give the refund considering like filing bankruptcy and everything. But yeah, I mean, when you can't essentially get that refund and then the whole dollar thing, I remember hearing about this and I thought it was ridiculous, which it is. But I don't know. It's a tough situation. Sometimes places go bankrupt and there's not a whole lot you can do.
All right, so I guess moving on to May of 2023, the controversy over Funko's mystery boxes that they did. Whether it was the Freddy Funko ones or the notorious BIG ones, they did a lot of these mystery boxes where you pay 50 US, you get 6 pops, and then there is a guaranteed pop that basically is the reason that you're going for it. So in this case, it is the 25th anniversary Freddy Funko Pop where he's popping out of the cake. Pretty decent pop, I guess. But then you get these 6 random pops that you don't exactly know what it is. And these ones specifically, and the Notorious B.I.G. ones I should mention, were absolutely ridiculous because a lot of people actually got the same exact pops. And especially our good buddies over at K-Dog and Fish did a bunch of unboxings of these Funko Shop exclusive boxes, and both of them opened it up, and it was the same exact box with the Freddy Funko and literally the exact same either exclusives or commons besides maybe one pop. And that's it, which is absolutely ridiculous when you open a box and you get like a BTS pop, you get a full box of Jurassic Park pops like Fish did, which was absolutely hilarious to see his reaction. But overall, just to see a mystery box and pretty much every single person getting the exact same 6 to 5 pops and maybe one different is absolutely ridiculous. No one wants to pay for these like what should be $5 commons, or actually, as K-Dog and Fish mentioned, because it is listed on Funko's website, they are now called mainline collectibles. Nobody wants that. We want good stuff for the $50 worth.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I mean, I understand what's going on. Basically, I'm pretty sure at least what they're doing is they're getting rid of extra product that they aren't selling, which is a very good thing to do in a company standpoint. I mean, they have to get rid of it and they don't want to, bring it to the landfill. So this kind of makes sense to do. Of course, they should switch it up and they should have some other stuff in there. Obviously, like lots of people do Funko Pop mystery boxes, and a lot of the times there's like the chance of a grail. There's all these different things. I think that should have been implemented, especially for $50, which actually isn't that bad of a price when it comes to a mystery box, especially when you do get that cool Freddy Funko. So there's good sides to this and there's bad. I just don't think it's the worst thing.
And I also think it's a little bit weird when they did the Notorious B.I.G. pop. There must have been so many left over from New York Comic Con because that was a New York Comic Con exclusive. Why wasn't it sold during that weekend? And I guess there was a bunch of left. Oh, yeah, maybe because they make too many fucking Notorious B.I.G. pops. Funko, slow down on that. All right, moving on to June. I guess the first big thing, it isn't really, well, I guess it is a company decision, but then also a huge like 50-50 reaction. It's actually something we showed off on the channel recently for the first time. The announcement of Blockbuster Rewind figures, the brand new figures where it's almost like a soda figure in a way, but you get this clamshell case. It's got a figure. It's got a card inside, and there is a 1 in 6 chance at a chase. There is a huge, like, I've never seen such a 50-50 divide as terms to these figures before. Some people think it's a waste of time. Some people think they are amazing. Like, I actually do think that these are some pretty awesome figures, and I kind of am starting to like them better than sodas. They're actually at a pretty decent price point. They are kind of a little bit tiny, but nonetheless, at least for me so far, I am enjoying these figures so far, but I don't really see why other people are not liking these figures.
Yeah, I can understand why people aren't liking them. There is the fact that they are very similar to like the stylization of a Playmobil figure. So that's an interesting thing. I do personally like them. I like the clamshell package with like the VHS tape design. That's really cool. You get the Blockbuster card in there, which is cool. The figures themselves look good, but I do think it'll take some time to see like where this is going to go. If the product is going to stay consistent like sodas have been. Obviously, sodas kind of started a little bit slow. There wasn't a ton. And now we're getting sodas all the time. There's an abundance of sodas. I'm kind of hoping it's similar to that. I also hope that they stick to like just movies for this. I think that kind of makes sense and not really go into other things. Like, of course, with sodas, you have like rock stars or musicians, you have TV shows, you have comic book characters, all of this different stuff. So I hope that they kind of just stick to movies. I think that makes sense. And I think that these are going to be very displayable where you don't necessarily have to have the figure out of the box. You can display them just like you display a VHS tape or a lot of VHS tapes where you just have them side by side where you see the end label. I think these are a really cool product, but like I said, it's going to take some time to see what we're getting and how fast we're getting them.
And then speaking of Blockbuster Rewind figures, we got to see the debut of them in our, I guess, next topic here, the Fun on the Run box, the collector's box that features quite a bit of items. You get a pop, which also has a 1 in 6 chance at a chase. There's a soda. The first time we're getting wacky wobblers since, God, how was it got to be 2014 or something like that. The Blockbuster Rewind, and then a Bitty Pop set, which is all right, but I think the big controversy is it worth the $105 US that it costs to get this box? Although there is a decent amount of items, most people are just getting it for the pop, considering it was Freddy Funko as the Flash. And then also, I think what's sparked up a little bit of controversy is that the Fun on the Run boxes you actually got in person while going to the specific Walmarts that they had the bus parked at wasn't entirely different. The pops were different, though, as it was the Freddy Funko as Batman and its chase being Freddy Funko as Robin. And then this time for the online version, you had Freddy Funko as the Flash and then Reverse Flash as the chase. I don't exactly know how I feel about maybe they should have switched up the box a little bit or done it completely different, because yeah, the only difference was between the pops. You got the same soda, which was, I believe, Space Ghost, and it was a translucent chase. You got the same wacky wobbler. You got the Blockbuster Rewind of Blockbuster worker Freddy Funko with the black and white chase, and then the Bitty Pops, which don't have the chase. And believe it or not, might be a little bit of a hot take, I think if I were to have gotten this box, I actually would have been more excited for the items that aren't the Funko Pops and the sodas. Blockbuster Rewinds, I was excited about. Black and White Chase, it's a little iffy, but it was the first attempt of making these. And then the Wacky Wobbler, which is something I felt like I've wanted at least one in my collection for a while, would have been exciting to get. And then the Bitty Pops are all right too, especially with the different Freddy Funkos you got in that.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, those products are really cool. Of course, it's awesome to see Wacky Wobblers back. Wacky Wobblers are awesome, so it's cool. And I think that Funko should put them out every once in a while. I don't think we need a Wacky Wobbler like a ton. Like, I don't want to see 5 a month. I think like just maybe like 1 or 2 a month, I think would be cool. You can kind of get some Wacky Wobblers back into rotation because people aren't really buying them that much. You don't really see them for sale that much either. So yeah, with these boxes, I definitely think that the kind of more niche products were definitely cooler for sure, especially considering they are like new products, quote unquote. And then I also don't really care about the pops themselves that were in these boxes, at least. So I guess that's the reason why I think it definitely should have been changed up somehow. I just don't know how exactly they would have done that.
All right, so the next big topic in this podcast to discuss about, it sparked up a lot of interest for people. That is Funko sues Big Apple Collectibles for approximately $500,000 that's happened in July. That was a huge, crazy topic. I actually believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was actually with MD and we were filming some YouTube shorts when I seen online, hey, Funko sued Big Apple Collectibles for $500,000. And I didn't really look up too much on it until like a couple days ago, actually, before recording this pod and going through the details of what had exactly happened, and watched a couple of Gasolcast videos because, you know, Gasolcast, they're pretty cool. They know their stuff. And basically the whole deal is that Big Apple Collectibles owed Funko a lot of money as terms to their exclusive items, because I guess I didn't even know that when it comes to these deals, Funko gives you the stuff, and then as you're selling the stuff, you give Funko the money that you basically owe them. So I guess with Big Apple Collectibles, obviously with their whole thing about not being able to fulfill pre-orders and losing money on that, they weren't able to owe Funko the money back, and so Funko filed this big lawsuit of almost $500,000 of items that are to be owed. But what was so weird about this, and it was explained in the Gasolcast video, was that the period of time that the money was owed for was from like April of 2022 to like August of 2022 or something, but it was issued in July of 2023. So I think the big thing, and it was discussed about in this video, was why is Funko implementing this lawsuit now and not back in 2022 when it should have happened? And especially when, how is Big Apple Collectibles going to give that money back when they basically filed for bankruptcy?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing from Funko. They want their money, obviously, who wouldn't? And I think that they realize, like, okay, if they're going bankrupt now, like, if we don't make this happen, then we might just lose out on this money, which they need it because it seems like Funko's not doing the greatest. But at the same time, I think that it takes a while for lawsuits to happen. This could have been in the works for a while now, and we're just hearing about it now. That's kind of what I think the deal is with this.
Yeah, and examples like this of Big Apple Collectibles not being able to fulfill pre-orders and then having to be stuck in this situation, I guess, is a reason why K-Dog and Fish, shout out to them, were ahead of the curve and stopped doing pre-orders because of risks like this of like, hey, let's do a pre-order. But then you're waiting on the distributors to send you the pops, and then you're waiting so long to the point where a lot of people will be like, oh, I found it at my local GameStop already. Can I have my money back? And then they have to issue the money back. So Big Apple Collectibles just keeping the stack of money, and then instead of actually saving it, they just spend it on whatever, and then now they're bankrupt. So good thing that K-Dog and Fish went with this route of not doing pre-orders anymore, because for all we know, they could have been in a situation like this, which good on them, because K-Dog and Fish, great company. They know how to ship pops. They know how to do mystery boxes, especially compared to the Funko ones we just talked about. But yeah, so this is a little bit of a sticky situation, but I don't know. I just felt like Funko should have done this a little bit earlier than right now, when I guess they are more of a stickier situation with money, which we'll get into in a little bit as terms to what we're talking about here on the pod. But nonetheless, I don't know. The situation's a little bit weird. Speaking of a weird situation that happened in July, is Brian Mariotti steps down as the CEO of Funko. It was actually reported that Funko CEO Brian Mariotti had to step down for whatever reason was happening. I believe there's some sort of weird investigation going on as terms to Brian himself. So to impress shareholders and to keep a little hush hush, he had to step down, kind of like how Vince McMahon did with WWE last July. So probably not for the same reasons about Vince McMahon, but nonetheless, Brian Mariotti. And what was so weird about this also, this had been announced already, and Brian Mariotti was at San Diego Comic-Con doing autographs and then also doing the fun days, which once again, shout out to K-Dog and Fish. They mentioned on one of their videos, I felt like almost every fan that would have went and done the autograph session with him probably asked him, what the is going on with you and stepping down as CEO? It's a little bit of a weird situation. And what's so weird about this also, this isn't the first time that Brian Mariotti has stepped down as CEO.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I thought about when I heard about this, of him stepping down. It's like, okay, but he already did that, so why is he doing it again? Who knows? I think we'll find out eventually. We always do. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to be said about it. I think it would be hilarious if Funko does put out a Brian Mariotti and Vince McMahon 2-pack. I think that would be hilarious. But with that being said, like, who knows? This can be anything. It can be personal things. It could be what's best for business right now. Who knows? But I think eventually we will find out, and it could be good or it could be bad.
Speaking of, and I mentioned about fun days, and this has been a huge topic, probably one of the biggest topics we're talking about in this pod, the Box of Fun fiasco. Do you know what's been going on with the Box of Fun lately?
I heard a little bit about it, but I kind of didn't really decide to pay attention.
So basically, we all know about Fun Days always happening every year, and it looks amazing. And I wish I was able to afford, and obviously I would need a passport first, but to afford to do the Fun Days event, I mean, shout out to Tristan at Top Hops. He was able to do it, I believe, for the first time ever this year, and it looked amazing. It's, you go there, you get this cool box of fun. They do a cool set of reveals throughout the night and do these fun activities. Besides, obviously, there was complaints about the chicken sandwiches being a little bit not cooked well, I guess. The whole Box of Fun fiasco. So with these Box of Funs, every year Funko does the Box of Fun. They do one for Fun Days, and they do one online. And so it was really cool to see what was inside of the Box of Fun at Fun Days. Especially, you can watch Tristan's video. I think actually it was one of my favorite videos that Tristan's ever done on his channel, and it looked really awesome. Some of the exclusive items that can range from 500 pieces to only 100 pieces, and like maybe some were 1,000. One I actually really liked, they did, it was called S'mores Boy, and it was 3,500 pieces, pieces, but it actually looked like a pretty cool pop, and might be a pop maybe if I go to like a fan expo or something one year and I see it for a decent price, I probably will pick it up. It's a pretty cool pop. But the whole fiasco involving this was when people started getting their boxes from the online session. So it's cool to also get the online ones because, oh, I'm not able to go to fun days, but then you get something a little bit cool, but not as cool as the in-person. However, a lot of the pops from the online box were exactly the same as the boxes you got in person, but with a different style of sticker and a higher piece count. People kept getting like Captain America Freddy Funko metallic pop, which I believe was originally like 250 pieces, now 2,500 pieces because of this online box. There was, I believe, Freddy Funko as Merlin and Freddy Funko as Waldo, which actually was a pretty cool Freddy Funko, not gonna lie. And then there's just quite a bit of pops, and then Funko had to do this statement of like, we're so sorry, and then doing this whole thing of like, if you send in your pop to us, we'll give you a brand new box of fun exclusive that wasn't done, which was a little bit weird because like if this actually happened, how would they be able to make a pop, I guess, so quickly and send it out? There must be a huge process because we all know that when it comes to Funko Pops, it's like a 6 to 9 month process as terms to getting the drawing done and then actually sending it to the manufacturer, getting a prototype done, and then actually putting on shelves, which sometimes could even take up to a year to make. So it's a little weird that they're doing it this way. I felt, I don't know if someone mixed up the boxes or just, I don't know. It just seems like a very weird situation. If you are a person that didn't get to make it to San Diego, California for fun days, but you got the online box and then you see, wow, I actually got this certain pop and I didn't have to pay so much money for hotel and flights to get to this event. And then you didn't have to go there. But then if, let's say, you're a person who spent all the money for flights, spent for hotels, and the ticket for San Diego Comic-Con to actually get this piece only to find out it was also online and you could have saved all this money. Or maybe if you were neither or, you couldn't get it online or in person and you bought it on the secondary market for like thousands of dollars only to find out you could have probably gotten it for cheaper. Yeah, this was a huge mess.
Yeah, it is another situation that's weird. I do think that if you are someone that went to Fun Days and got it, I don't think you can necessarily be upset. And the reasons for that is obviously it's a whole event of things that you are doing. So you're not necessarily like, I'm sure people do just go there to get the product itself. They don't care about meeting anybody or doing any of the cool things. But that is what it is all about. It's Fun Days. That's what it is. And then that being said, these pops are, of course, it's the exact same pop. That's brutal. That does suck. But at the same time, it comes down to, again, like we said with the con pops with the stickers and then the shared stickers, it's all about the sticker at that point. If you have, let's say, the Captain America that was limited to 250 pieces, if you got the sticker that's 250 pieces, that pop is still going to hold a crazy amount of value. Whereas with the ones that have the higher piece count, those aren't going to be quite as valuable. But at the same time, like, yeah, this is just another mistake, and I don't really see why it happened. Maybe there was too many of these pops manufactured. They said, okay, we're going to do 250 of this, have it be a limited piece count. What are we going to do with the other ones? Let's not dump them in the landfill. So we're going to put them on the website for the Box of Fun and just have them be limited to more pieces, essentially. So I don't know. It seems like there's some like quality control that's not going on. And it's not necessarily with the figures because Funko Pops have been looking great recently. It's more with the company. And that seems to be a trend with a lot of these mistakes that Funko's been making this year.
All right, so the next one, this was a situation that had this month in August as we're recording this. We have no idea whether this will be recorded or released in August or released in September for this pod, but one of the big topics, and I actually didn't write this down until basically just right now because it popped in my head, are NFT pops basically being commons. And what I mean by this is Funko has started doing waves of pops that, let's say a licensor had an NFT set, but they make that character that is almost identical to the NFT pop, but now it's being released as a common. One of the photos I can't really access to right now, I know at the Fun Days, they had reveals for a couple of different pops from, I believe, the House of the Dragon, where two of the characters were NFT pops, and they look almost identical to the ones that were in the NFT drop, except maybe like one little limb switched. Like it was like the slightest change, but it basically was like, wow, you basically made the same pop, and now we can get it easily accessible. And then for the people that are buying these NFTs and hoping to get these pops that hopefully would never be made again, it's just kind of a slap in the face in that point. And then one of the examples, which I do have a photo of right here, is for the new Power Rangers 30th anniversary set. There is a PX exclusive Ranger Slayer, which also supposedly has a glow in the dark chase. Ranger Slayer was a pop that was made as an NFT, and it looks almost identical to the actual Ranger Slayer that was the NFT pop, except I believe the arm positioning is different and maybe the cape is somewhat different, but it looks literally identical to the NFT pop, and it's making people question now, and especially with the new posting as of this recording of the Power Rangers Series 2 set of NFTs, a lot of people are commenting, are these pops just going to be commons in about a year from now? So I don't know, that's a little bit of controversy right there, where maybe should they have just kept Ranger Slayer as an NFT, or do they just do what they're doing and make a slightly different version? Not really the slightest, but a little bit of a slight difference as a more common or exclusive accessible figure.
Yeah, this really sucks, and Funko has to watch out with what they're manufacturing so that they're not doing stuff like this, where if you're going to do NFTs like this, you got to make it so that that's the only way you can get this pop, because that's the only way that makes sense. Some people are going to stop buying NFTs when stuff like this is happening, and we love buying the NFT packs. We think it's a lot of fun. You get a chance of getting some cool stuff. You get to see like the animation of the NFTs themselves, which is a lot of fun. But on the other hand, it's expensive. It's not very cheap to do, especially when you want to get multiple packs. You're paying a good amount of money and you're guaranteed nothing. You can pull no redeemables, and then you're stuck with basically just digital NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, which, okay, if you get good pulls, some can have value. You can maybe trade them up or do whatever you want with them. But essentially, you're getting nothing. A non-fungible token is essentially nothing. And I'm sure a lot of people can agree. Of course, it is like almost the same thing as like cryptocurrency at that point. But I think a lot of people want it for these redeemable pops from different pop culture things that they love. So when you have a pop, and let's say you finally get this pop from the NFT set, whether you bought it secondary or you bought a bunch of packs, you got really lucky, you did some trading up, and then you see a pop almost exactly like it that comes out later on, that's gotta hurt. That's a real blow. It is almost the same as when Funko will sometimes do the restocks, where there'll be a pop that hasn't been stocked for years, and that pop becomes valuable, and then boom, Hot Topic gets a restock, and it's like, oh, well, the value on that's going down. And it seems like that's possibly the same thing that's going to happen with these NFT pops that are being duplicated like this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You brought up some good points, and especially like, how pissed would you be? And especially because in the process of being shipped, that your Foghorn Leghorn that you got from the NFT drop, which, if anyone's wondering, we didn't pull that card. We had to buy that secondary market with the redemption token, that they just end up making almost an identical pop later on for Looney Tunes for Foghorn.
Yeah, I mean, that would really suck. Of course, I'd probably buy it. But with that being said, I really, really wanted that pop. When I heard about it with the NFT set, I was super pumped about it, tried to pull it, and then eventually went on to actually go and buy it. And if a common came out at this point, that would be ridiculous, and Funko would definitely lose some points off me, that's for sure.
Yeah, and decisions like this are, what I'm realizing is that a lot of NFT pops are not really as much as they were as terms to the beginning of NFTs literally 2 years ago, where you see like the legendaries and the grails going for like 500, close to $1,000. And yeah, like decisions, yeah, they got to make sure that if they make it as an NFT pop, they don't make it as a regular pop. Or if you're going to do that character, make it like completely different. Like example, they did Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote for Looney Tunes, but the pops previously, they were like different moldings. And I think it was Roadrunner, actually looked better as the NFT pop than it did as the Funko Shop, and then maybe the other way around for the Wile E. Coyote, but making it different to where, okay, maybe I'll get this version also, but not literally the exact same pop and then just like, here, his arm is up or something like that. Like, it's just ridiculous. And yeah, this could be a driving point for Funko NFTs, which I hope not, because I do enjoy the Funko NFTs. It seems like we're doing very well on the channel with Funko NFTs. So hopefully that doesn't really end, because yeah, even though they're expensive, we enjoy doing these. And then the last one that I have listed is actually a recent announcement, is what I've been teasing, is the Q2 earnings for Funko for 2023. So basically in this call, which I believe it was made with the interim CEO of Funko that's filling in for Brian Mariotti at the moment, talking about their stocks, blah, 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 and how much they made this quarter, and mentioned about how in Q2 of 2022, they had approximately, I think it was $350 million made. And this quarter is $280 million. So almost a $100 million loss within a 1 year span, which is absolutely crazy. I think they even mentioned it was like a 24% drop, or I think it was a 24% drop from this quarter and last quarter. I can't exactly remember, but still, almost $100 million you lost in 1 year. Absolutely crazy with the decisions of making these new products and then them kind of sitting on the shelves, like example, pop pins, and you're doing all this other stuff like Funko Gold, even though MD likes Funko Gold, but not a lot of people do like the Funko Golds. But then in that call, it was made that Funko is going to start doing this whole process of decreasing 30% of Funko items and kind of almost not start from scratch again, but to the point to where even when it comes to Funko Pop lines, they're going to do it. I can't remember the term. K-Dog and Fish mentioned it, where it's what Funko Pop lineups used to be, where example, I guess the current example I can use is Trailer Park Boys, where there's only 3 pops in a wave. We're not going to get waves of like 14 between, or not 14 waves, but 14 pops between 2 waves like Wakanda Forever, and seeing these Eternal pops, and that's resulting in seeing these pops at like, let's say Dollarama and Five Below and all this stuff, and that they're going to start doing Funko Pop waves way smaller to where it is like the main characters, and if there is a popular enough demand, they will make more characters from that certain set, instead of like example seeing those Eternal Pops with like 14 characters in one wave, and basically almost all of them showing up at Dollarama about a year later, because no one gives a about the movie, no one gives a about the pops, and there's just too many to collect when people have a wide variety of fandoms that they like, and it's just too much to collect, especially with The Office recently. Even the new wave that's coming out, I think only has 4 or 5 pops, which might be the smallest wave we've seen of The Office pops since its inception in 2019. But nonetheless, I mean, that would be cool if we get smaller waves, because then yeah, it's more money to buy more fandoms for Funko. And then as terms to the decrease of products, I've already mentioned in a recent video you guys would have seen on the channel of like what they should keep, what they should slow down, and what they should eliminate. MD, what do you think that Funko should keep?
Let's get rid of Funko Pops. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. That's a tough question. Before I answer it, though, I do want to say that I think that this is the best idea for Funko. This is what they need to do. There's way too many things. There's so many pops. It seems like I go to GameStop, like I go there all the time, and it seems like it's just always the same stuff that I don't really care about. Of course, some people will, but it's just the same stuff that's sitting on the shelves, because Funko is just they over the past couple of years, they're just pumping out products so much. There's been so much to talk about, and it doesn't really make sense. They need to slow it down. I think this is the best way to do it, by having these smaller waves. That's exactly what they need to do. When it comes to actual different like lineups and products, though, I don't know. Maybe they should slow it down on the sodas. It's hard to keep up with sodas. Obviously, it's not like we're going for full collections of sodas, but it always seems like there's just so many that are getting announced. They need to maybe slow that down. I think that the Blockbuster Rewinds, those need to be a slow release. I'm talking talking like 1 or 2 a month, maybe if that. Other products that they can get rid of, like, I don't know, I feel like it's already on its way out, but Paka, I think that needs to go. Though we do like opening those and stuff. That's a fun little wave. They don't sell. And then I don't know, like with the pops, it's hard to like eliminate like a certain like wave of pops or like a lineup or anything like that because people like what they like and I can't tell you what to like and not to like. Funko Gold, I think could probably end. They don't sell very well either, though I do like some of their products. So I don't know, but I do think that slowing it down, putting out less products is definitely the thing that Funko needs to do.
So if you made it this far into the podcast, kudos to you, considering that not a lot of people would have that much dedication. But like I mentioned earlier, this podcast was recorded back in the middle of August, and we didn't think that it would be delayed until pretty much almost mid-September now. So if we're reaching this far, we're adding one more part of the, I guess, bad decision segment, and that is one thing that just happened recently here in the month of September, and that is the news of Brian Mariotti actually resigning from Funko overall, and not just, of course, the CEO position. I think maybe it could be something that the board of directors maybe suggested for now is to resign to kind of keep the name of Funko, like not giving the company like bad hype as terms to its reputation. But for me, I honestly don't think that this resignation is going to last entirely too long. I look at it as exactly what happened, and I actually mentioned him earlier in the podcast, of Vince McMahon for WWE. He resigned because of some allegations, and then he was back before we knew it. Like literally earlier this year in January, Vince McMahon was back in WWE in a big position in the company. And I feel like that may be the same thing that goes with Brian Mariotti. I don't think his resignation from Funko is going to be too long. Who knows? But that's what I'm thinking right now. And that Brian Mariotti at some point will be back with Funko. And yeah, already in September, that's already another bad decision, or decisions that are huge as terms to Funko every month of the year. We got to wait and see what happens in October, November, December. Maybe even there's going to be more news within every month of 2024 for all we know. But I guess that's going to be the end of this edition of a Funko podcast. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know some situations that we may have missed talking about. But thank you for listening to this edition of a Funko podcast, and we hope to see you guys on the next edition. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.